story kicks off at the Ohio State Fair in Columbus, where we meet the main character. A skilled thief with a British accent known as Parker. He's not your typical criminal. He follows a personal code, never stealing from those who can't afford it and never hurting innocent people. Disguised as a priest, Parker is leading a crew of crooks, including Hardwick, a man connected to the Chicago mob.
He came as advertised.
Along with 4 other notorious criminals. Their target? The carnival's cash reserves. Parker sneaks into the security office, creating a diversion so his team,
Let's move this in because we got another shipment coming in.
dressed as clowns, can take down the guards. Inside the office, a hefty pile of cash from the 3-day fair is waiting to be stolen.
What's the erase code?
The crew takes hostages, and Hardwick sets a small fire as part of the plan. Meanwhile, the carnival continues as usual, with no one suspecting a thing.
Take it easy.
One of the hostages starts panicking, but Parker reassures him that no one will be harmed. Flashbacks reveal that an older thief named Hurley, who happens to be the father of Parker's love interest, Claire, was the one who convinced Parker to join this heist.
Good, go see.
While Claire believes Parker and her father barely know each other, the reality is that Parker has worked with Hurley for years, and the older man fully trusts him.
They rake in.
Hurley provided Parker with everything he needed for this job, including a crew of skilled criminals led by a man named Melander. However, the supposedly controlled fire spirals into a massive blaze, sending fairgoers into a panic. Amidst the chaos, Parker's team snatches over $1 million and makes a clean getaway.
Pearls. Jewelry's 10 cents on the door.
Their escape is assisted by an accomplice, Carlson, who is posing as a fire chief, allowing them to leave unnoticed. Later, in an abandoned industrial area, Parker and Hardwick get into an argument.
Away from the midway.
You know what? There was some trouble, so I...
Parker is furious because Hardwick deviated from a plan. He had been distracted while watching firefighters change in their tent, which caused him to set the fire in the wrong place. Instead of lighting a barn behind the livestock pavilion, he ignited an area near a propane tank depot, making the fire much more dangerous and drawing unnecessary attention from authorities.
Someone gets hurt, cops come after us.
The rest of the gang arrives, and they all pile into a car. As they drive along a deserted road, the leader, impressed by Parker's skills, offers him another job with $1 million payout. Parker, however, isn't interested. He just wants his $200,000 cut and plans to leave the criminal life behind.
Divide up the shares and that'll be the end.
Of course, the gang has other plans. Since Parker refuses to join their next job, they decide to eliminate him. Parker quickly realizes he's in trouble, injures Carlson, and jumps out of the moving car. Just before Melander manages to shoot him, the gang orders Hardwick to finish the job. Hardwick shoots Parker and dumps his body into a pond before they speed away. Fate has other ideas. Not long after, a farmer and his family happen to pass by. They notice blood on the road and discover Parker barely clinging to life in the water. They rush him to the local hospital, where he miraculously survives. When Parker wakes up, he sees news reports about the fairground fire, which resulted in several deaths.
While making their escape, a 51-year-old
The authorities are still searching for the culprits. Seeing police stationed outside his hospital room, Parker knows he has to act fast. He incapacitates a doctor, steals his clothes, and makes a daring escape. Outside, he hijacks an ambulance and drives off, later stopping to patch himself up. Now, Parker has one goal: track down the people who betrayed him and take them out one by one. Still recovering from his injuries, he sneaks into a hunter's motel room, stealing some fresh clothes, a utility knife, an electric razor, and a gun. After acquiring a stolen car, he heads to a check cashing center in Memphis, where he holds a worker hostage to rob the place. He needs cash to create a new identity and get himself some fake documents. With that settled, Parker travels to Houston, Texas.
Did you bring a picture?
There, he meets with a print shop owner, telling him he's a friend of Bob Hurley's. He hands over a hefty sum for forged documents and waits for them to be processed. While biding his time, Parker calls Hurley, demanding to know Hardwick's brother's location.
Second, you know we can get a hold of that client, Melander.
Hurley warns him to let it go, emphasizing how dangerous these people are. But Parker won't back down. Hurley finally gives up the location, a bar where Hardwick's brother works. Without hesitation, Parker heads to New Orleans, storms into the bar, takes down the bouncer, and confronts Hardwick's brother, who happens to own multiple bars on Bourbon Street. Under pressure, the man spills that Melander and his gang are hiding out in Palm Beach, Florida, a haven for the ultra-wealthy. Realizing that his enemies might go after his loved ones, Parker quickly calls Claire and her father, telling them to leave town immediately. Meanwhile, down in Florida, a real estate agent named Leslie Rogers is going about her usual business, unaware that she's about to get caught up in Parker's mission. At the same time, Melander and his crew are finalizing plans for their next big heist. When Hardwick gets word that Parker is still alive, she informs Melander. Enraged, Melander nearly kills one of his own men in frustration. Instead, he orders Hardwick to call her powerful uncle, Mr. Danziger, a crime boss in Chicago, to send a professional assassin to eliminate Parker. Danziger hires his best hitman, Kroll, to track Parker down. The assassin's first move is to break into Claire's house, intending to kidnap her to lure Parker out. However, Claire is smart. She hears something suspicious and manages to slip out a window, slashing the tires of Kroll's car before making her escape. In tears, she calls Parker and tells him what happened. Parker instructs her to hide out at a fishing camp near Lake Okeechobee in Florida until it's safe to return. Parker then heads back to Houston to pick up his fake documents, but walks into an unexpected ambush. 3 of Danziger's men have already been taken hostage by Norte, the print shop owner, and his assistant, Ernesto. Parker quickly figures out that Ernesto has been double-crossing Norte, working secretly for Danziger. To make a point, Parker shoots Ernesto in both legs. Then, forcing Norte to cooperate, Parker makes him execute Danziger's men, leaving Norte's fingerprints all over the scene. Later on, Parker catches up with Hurley, who tells him that Danziger reached out and left him a cut of the last heist to smooth things over. But Parker isn't buying it. He knows no big-shot Chicago crime boss would just hand over money to someone standing in his way. He turns it down, sticking to his principles, and is more determined than ever to take down the gang that double-crossed him. To do that, he heads to Florida, taking on the identity of Daniel Parramatta, an escaped felon from San Antonio, Texas, pretending to be in the market for a house. Helping him in this setup is Leslie Rogers, the real estate agent. But before he finalizes anything, he takes a detour to visit Claire. When they meet, Parker tells her they need to go their separate ways to keep her safe. As Leslie takes Parker around to see high-end homes, he barely pays them any attention. Then he stops in front of a rundown house, by local standards, sold 2 months ago for $1.2 million. He instantly realizes this is the hideout Melander's crew will be using post-heist. Leslie invites him to lunch to stay in touch, but he brushes her off, saying he's swamped. Later that evening, curious about her mysterious client, Leslie checks in with the bank but finds no record of any transactions, making her even more suspicious. Meanwhile, her financial troubles pile up when she gets a notice that her car has been repossessed. She's furious, especially with all the debt her cheating ex left her with. Around the same time, Hitman Kroll tracks down Norte and kills him, thinking he's working with Parker. As the sun sets, Parker sneaks into Melander's hideout, where he stumbles upon their stash of weapons. He booby-traps the place and studies their heist plans. When he heads back to his car, Leslie is waiting for him. She wants to talk somewhere private, but Parker, paranoid, gets aggressive, suspecting she's working for someone. She insists she isn't and tells him outright that she knows he's not who he claims to be. They go to her real estate office after hours, where she vents about her struggles and offers to work with him in exchange for a cut. Instead of responding, Parker orders her to strip down to prove she isn't wearing a wire. Once he confirms she's clean, he agrees to consider her proposal. The next day, Parker takes Leslie up on her offer to assist him. He lays out the details of Melander's heist. They're planning to rob a high-stakes diamond auction, with a potential haul of $57 million. Leslie panics, thinking it's too risky, but at this point, she's already too involved to back out. Meanwhile, Melander and his crew gear up for the job, posing as event staff and firefighters to get access to the venue. After dropping Leslie off at her office, Parker heads to his hotel, where he's ambushed by Kroll. A brutal fight breaks out, and Parker smashes the assassin's head against the bathtub. Thinking he's dead, Parker lets his guard down, but Kroll springs back to life and attacks again. They struggle, and Parker ultimately throws him off the 26th floor balcony. Though he survives, Parker is badly wounded. Bleeding and in need of medical attention, Parker stumbles into Leslie's home. A local cop happens to be there, questioning her about her mysterious client. She notices blood on the floor and quickly sends the officer away. Later, Parker asks her to use a payphone to call Claire, who rushes to patch him up. She refuses to leave his side despite the danger. As Parker recovers, Melander and his gang put their robbery into motion. Hardwick remotely triggers fireworks to cause a distraction while Melander and his crew, dressed as firefighters, break in and snatch the diamonds. The police act fast, sealing off all exits from Palm Beach to the mainland, blocking roads, and setting up checkpoints at the marina. Hardwick leads the cops on a high-speed boat chase while the rest of the crew escapes underwater with diving gear, making it back to their hideout. But Parker is already there, lying in wait. Just as he's about to strike, Leslie, snooping outside, gets caught by Hardwick. Melander realizes Parker is nearby and orders his men to find him. One by one, Parker takes them down in silence. When Melander tries to shoot him from behind, his gun jams, giving Parker the chance to finish him off. Meanwhile, Leslie, who is being held by Carlson, manages to grab a hidden gun and shoots him. Hardwick, now the last man standing, grabs Leslie and points a gun at her, threatening to kill her unless Parker hands over the loot. But when he pulls the trigger, the gun misfires. Parker wastes no time and puts a bullet in his forehead. Afterward, Parker tells Leslie to stash the stolen diamonds inside an air conditioning vent, assuring her that someone will come to retrieve them in 3 months. Then he vanishes. 6 months later, Parker tracks down and eliminates Danziger. A year after that, Leslie receives 2 boxes in the mail containing her $24 million share of the job. In the final scene, Parker finds the farmer who saved his life and pays him back for his kindness. The old man, seeing everything Parker has done, starts to believe he might not be just an ordinary man, maybe something more like an avenging angel.